He's got glue on his hands and a spark in his brain. Tiny cars, tiny jets, tiny military planes. From tanks to trains to rockets that soar, he built it up and then built some more. It's Max's motto, kids and hobby dreams. Max's motto, he'll been big in miniature scenes. Woo! He said, so anyway, the thing is that he's 3 stories deep in high school band. You ask him how his weekend went, he's explaining ancient Roman ceiling fans. One sip of coffee, suddenly we're ranking every kind of cheese. We just wanted movie times, now we're somewhere in the 90s on TV. Captain Tangent, off again, started with the weather, now we're talking about space pens. Captain Tangent, spin that thread. We were on the freeway, now we're in his cousin's shed. He goes left, he goes right. He forgets what started this ride. Captain Tangent, that's our friend. Circle to the middle, never finds the end. You say, can you pass a song? He's live song, that's wild. Cause I once knew a guy named Hal. Next thing, it's a road trip tale. Flat tire, first crush, roadside motel. He's drawing diagrams on a napkin just to prove a tiny point. By the time he finally lands, we forgot why we even joined. Captain Tangent, off again. Started with a question, now we're rating every band's best spin. Captain Tangent, spin that thread. We were in the kitchen, now we're somewhere by a cars, tiny jets, tiny military planes. From tanks to trains to rockets that soar, he built it up and then built some more. It's Max's motto, Kinston hobby dreams. Max's motto, he'll been big in miniature scenes. Woo! He said, so anyway, the thing is that he's 3 stories deep in high school band. You ask him how his weekend went, he's explaining ancient Roman ceiling fans. One sip of coffee, suddenly we're ranking every kind of cheese. We just wanted movie times, now we're somewhere in the 90s on TV. Captain Tangent, off again, started with the weather, now we're talking about space pens. Captain Tangent, spin that thread. We were on the freeway, now we're in his cousin's shed. He goes left, he goes right. He forgets what started this ride. Captain Tangent, that's our friend. Circle to the middle, never finds the end. You say, can you pass a song? He's live song, that's wild. Cause I once knew a guy named Hal. Next thing, it's a road trip tale. Flat tire, first crush, roadside motel. He's drawing diagrams on a napkin just to prove a tiny point. By the time he finally lands, we forgot why we even joined. Captain Tangent, off again. Started with a question, now we're rating every band's best spin. Captain Tangent, spin that thread. We were in the kitchen, now we're somewhere by a
Troopers, welcome to another scintillating live stream of Max's models. And you may have, oh, you know what? I just realized they can't see what's on my desk because of the Windows capture. Let me change the...
It's about 20 seconds behind.
Here, let me get this back down to scale. And you guys will notice I have Godzilla right here on the desks. So we are, I said Godzilla at 7 sharp, the opening salvo, because I have this magnificent device that was given to me by Ricky Wagner, which is the control stick for the model airplanes. So here, they can, I hope you guys can hear me. So here, you can nosedive, go down to Godzilla, taka, 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 and then pull up and fly away if he doesn't get you with his breath. So there you go. Ha! Right out of this, Godzilla right out of the chute. And Steve's got his Godzilla handy too. But I got Godzilla -0. My Godzilla can beat your Godzilla. So, I guess we'll get the tangents out of the way up front. We have, as you guys know, Godzilla -0 is coming out shortly. The trailer, which I talked about and everybody's talking about, shows a B-29, an H-8K Emily, and a what we haven't figured out what they're flying, the single engine plane. A lot of guys have said they think it's a Sky Raider, and there's some online chatter that may be what it is. It would make sense. And I actually have my Sky Raider right there, the toilet bomber. But that is a movie that my wife and I will definitely be lined up to see at the premiere. Ken is with us, but he's on the phone. Trey may be joining us later online, hopefully. He's not at home yet. Trey of Trey's Models, who gave me a lot of the pictures that you just saw. I chopped up a video that he'd made, and I need to put a link below so you guys can go see it. But some years ago, he did a video of all his old model builds, and that's what we're going to be talking about today is old models, or our early builds, and that kind of stuff. Now, you might let Debbie know we're hearing everything she's saying, and it's going out to the universe, to China, the Chinese Secret Service, and the Israelis, and everybody. The Russians, everybody's picking up on it. Kentucky Fried Chicken will know.
I mean, on my phone.
Yes, and your voice is carrying over to our Ken's phone, which is going on my live stream and going out to the universe writ large. There are aliens and Alpha Centauri that will be getting this in a few years.
But I was here before he sat down. I'm watching your live stream.
And good night, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Sorry, Ken. Hold on.
You heard her, Ken. She was there first. I can't even read the comments.
It's time to break for a commercial.
Are you done, Max?
Hey, catch your breath. God, that was funny.
Oh, yeah, he's right.
I've had exactly one small cocktail, and I don't have any more stuff because I was telling Steve I ran out. Oh, God.
Bill Paul agrees with me. Max is gone.
Okay, and we're back. And scene.
Dad says, well, we know how to take Max out.
Yeah, really. Like was the hyenas or whatever they were in Roger Rabbit, just make them laugh, you know. And we go to a word from our sponsors. Yeah.
Max is going to shoot milk out of his nose.
Oh, yeah, big old milk bubble. Raise your hand if you ever blew a milk bubble out of your nose.
That's what I did. Max is going bye-bye, Egon.
No. Ghostbusters. And yes, that was an Ed Sullivan reference earlier. And yeah, I caught the Ghostbusters reference. So one nice thing about this group, we can almost talk in code because we've all seen the same movies so many times. But I don't think anybody's got Steve beat for being the aficionado of movies. Because he's seen a bunch of them even I haven't seen or don't remember. The thing is, you can keep all the names and everything straight. I'll like seen the movie but forget the name of it or the actors. Yeah,
I've probably seen ones nobody wanted to see.
What's the worst sci-fi movie you ever saw? Plan 9 doesn't count. Oh, hey, Wesley Hornback. Okay, I think that's Trey. Okay, I said
Invasion of the Astro Zombies.
Yes, all right. Actually, okay. Here, add pin. Hey, Wesley, you getting everything set up for your dad? I don't know. What can you hear us? Okay. Well, anyway, they're getting set up out there.
Figured it out.
Okay, now I can hear you. Oh, Lord. We do have a good time here. And that's the whole idea.
No,
I put my foot down hard.
Oh, that's
I have to give
No, I
you my
put my foot
headphones.
up. My hit the deck.
okay.
Hello, Raven.
Stop this for a second.
130. 130 Mustang kits of all scales. What to do? Well, first buy
Build them all.
Buy a gallon of glue. Well, since we're talking about it, let's go ahead and loop back. Well, I'll tell you what. I will You know what? I'll just leave the pin up when Trey and get set up. We'll go live. Like I say, Pearl Harbor is the worst film, and yes, we don't even call it that. We call it the movie whose name we do not say. I don't know. I didn't think the Red Planet was that bad. I kind of liked it. The
Yeah, but
Mission to
Creeping
Mars,
Unknown-
I didn't care for too much.
Creeping Unknown, he was right. A shag rug attacks it down. That's about it.
Creeping Rug?
Yeah, the
What?
Creeping Unknown.
What was the Creeping Unknown?
It
It sounds
was
familiar.
It was this thing that came out of his ship, and it looked like a rug, and it just like kind of absorbed people. It was ridiculous. It was really bad.
Hey,
We could have made a better movie for less money. That's the point.
one of the classic episodes of Outer Limits is the demon with the glass hand,
Yep.
and the headpieces that the villains were wearing were bloody shower caps.
Yeah.
You know, although they were carrying Smith & Wesson triple locks. That's a nice revolver. I've got one. Points for the revolver selection. Of course, I'm not exactly sure why aliens from another dimension in the future were carrying, 1930s vintage Smith & Wesson revolvers, but hey, one does want a hint of class.
To fit in.
Hey, okay, Trey, you up?
Hey, I made it.
Hey, you made it. All right, guys. Trey of Trey's Models is going to join us because we're going to be talking about a lot of those pictures you saw at the beginning were from a video that he linked me to, which I need to put in the description if you guys want to go see it. It's a lot of his old builds. And talking about old kits from days of yore.
Shut the door so Ben don't run in here now.
Yes, we hear you. You are coming through 5x5.
How's my volume? Am I too loud?
You're a little bit loud, yeah. If you could adjust your modulation. XM31 modulator. You have made me very angry.
Try reversing the polarity.
That's exactly what they want us to do. Earthwomen are easy. Yeah, that was kind of disappointing. I was expecting more with the kind of horsepower they had.
Yeah. Okay.
That could have been a good movie. It was a great premise,
Well, it depends. It depends on what country it was going to be in.
I guess. So, Trey, you have an unusually good photo record of your early builds, better than most of us. I couldn't even find the photos somewhere in my probably backed up. I was running out of space on the computer, but you actually had a really good collection of photographs. But you said all your models went walkabout when you went in the Army.
Yeah, sadly, they were all boxed up. I'm too loud here. Can you turn me down?
Yeah, I got you.
Got IT here fixing my volume for you.
How's that now?
How's the volume now?
About the same.
Could go down a little.
Okay, is that good?
That's okay. We can work with
Okay.
Okay,
So-
yeah, sadly, I had everything boxed up, and when I went off to join the Army, came home one day from work, and everything was gone. And had it all boxed up in storage in the garage. It all disappeared. To this day, I really don't know what happened to it.
I
but-
do, and Steve
You know.
does, and everyone watching this does. Your mom threw that stuff out.
It's in the dumpster.
It's in the. I mean, she'll never tell you that because she loves you and her baby. But Mama said he's gone. It's gone. I mean, I'm sorry, brother.
Sadly, sadly, I think my youngest brother and his friend had a BB gun war with the collection.
That would
And as long
actually
as they
be
had
my
fun with
preferable
it, I'm okay with
scenario.
it.
At least that way they would have died in combat,
Absolutely.
valiantly.
So I'm
defending
okay
the-
with that. You know.
They would have died valiantly defending the backyard. But
Neither one of them have confessed to it, but I
Never
found some
will.
evidence back in the
Never will.
woods behind the house. So
my brother
you know what?
spent
At
so
this
much.
point, it's all good.
My brother spent so much time making his monogram 148 scale F14, and he did a real nice job on it. All hand painted. We didn't have airbrushes or anything. It was all, and he did a really respectable job on it back when his eyesight was still 20/20. And one day I was like in my 20s, so it's not like I didn't know what I was doing. I was just bored and had a BB gun. And I put about 3 rounds through it. He came in and saw that about 6 months later. He hit the ceiling. What do you care? You're in the Air Force. You haven't seen that thing. I don't care. I put a lot of work into this. You know? I didn't destroy it, but it definitely had battle damage. Yeah, that's probably what happened. BB guns and kit models go together like Godzilla and submarines. And if there's 712.
Hey, it's as long as they had fun. As long as they had fun doing it, I'm okay with it at this point.
The funny thing is that it's like my little shed out back is packed full of kit model boxes because sometime when this channel first kind of got traction, I guess it was during COVID. Somebody said, don't throw your kit model boxes away. You never know what would be valuable. And for some reason, every once in a while, somebody will make a throwaway comment that'll stick. So now unless they're just ratty or something, I have wound up just doing the whole Russian nesting doll thing with all my boxes, and I got a shed full of boxes that I need to get rid of. But I'm like, yeah, but some of these may be worth something. Like I've got enough time left for it to matter, but
There's that.
But if anybody wants some kit model boxes, I got about 300 of them. The thing is you go out and look at them, and you realize, holy crap, I built all these, and I'm like, you kind
No,
of.
what makes it even more astounding is if you go on eBay and you're scrolling and you see this and you think it's a kit, and then you read it and it's $50. It's box
Got
only.
box
I'm like,
only.
what?
Are you on crack?
Yeah.
I got 2 of those out in the shed. Well,
Yeah, you think you're getting a good score, and it's like, oh, it's just
Right.
a box.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a box.
Yeah.
You look at the picture and it's empty, and you're like, "Where's the kit?" You know?
Yeah. Trey, what was the first model
It's-
you remember building?
I believe it was the Mustang. It was the.
You got to narrow that down.
If I remember correctly, it was like a monogram 124 scale Mustang.
You started with
The-
124 scale?
If I remember correctly, I remember finding a piece of asphalt and putting the model on it so it would look like a diorama kind of thing. That's my earliest memory, but that was, oh gosh, I had to have been 6, 7 years old.
Wait, you're talking about
Back
the big
in the
124
mid-60s.
scale job.
I'm sorry, 112 scale. I'm sorry.
112 is even bigger.
No, the other way.
148,
No,
172?
it was a car.
Oh, it's a car. Oh.
124.
See, that's why I
car.
said you got to narrow it down. I'm an airplane geek. So,
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember back in the day, back then, because our road out front had been torn up. So there was these big chunks of asphalt that I had available to me. And I thought that'd be kind of cool to put the car on that. And that's the only reason I even remember that being the first one. But it was like an early Mustang body car.
Like a
I
65
can't even remember if it
or
was a
something,
Revell or
64 and a half.
Monogram. Yeah, exactly. 65. It was the old square body. But after that, the only other one I remember that was the old Shooting Star.
P80.
I think was maybe the second one that I did.
And Steve,
But I don't
you know-
have pictures of either one of those, unfortunately.
Well, God, you were 6 years old. I mean, yeah.
Right.
It's funny. I think all of us had kit models before we had cameras. Of course, back then having a camera was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that was kind of a rare thing.
And on my last video, I posted that black and white photo of the crop duster, and one of the glue troopers had sent that to me. He goes, it was the early '60s. He had just gotten his brand new Brownie Instamatic, and he was dying to take a picture. But he loved airplanes, so he went out and he knew that this guy would be crop dusting, and he caught that photo of him crop dusting a Stearman in the early '60s. And having grown up on a duster strip, man, that really hit the nostalgia.
Oh, that hit home for you, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. But we actually, ironically, in my time, we did not have any Stearmans. We had Ag Cats, Thrush Commanders, Pawnees, Ag Trucks. But now, if I may, Captain Tangent may digress here for a moment. And Trey, you being an aviation mechanic, you'll appreciate
We've been waiting.
it. Yes, the first tangent at 18 after the hour. No, wait a minute. 16 after the hour. So,
I feel better already.
yeah, Kent's feeling good. I've mentioned Godzilla and we hit a tangent, so our punch list is complete.
We're halfway there.
We're halfway there. So, as a kid, I used to play and wreck crop dusters, mostly just frames, although a few of them still had the skin on them. And that old Call-Air A9 was my brother and I's Messerschmitt or Spitfire P40, where we felt like flying that day. So, one of the crates that was just a frame, I remember it vividly. I jumped in it. It was out there for years beside the maintenance hangar. And when I say maintenance hangar, do not envision United Airlines. Envision a hangar that maybe could hold 2 small planes, okay? And because it had the hopper on the side. Now, if you go out on the internet, you will not find a picture of a single crop duster with a hopper on the side. And let me tell you
rare.
why. They built it right there at the local airport. This is back in the day when the average duster pilot mechanic had enough tool skills and engineering skills that they could just take a crop duster, cut the frame up. The pilots are like, we don't want the hopper behind us like in the old Super Cubs, because if we crash, it comes in on top of us. But if we put it out in front of us, like most dusters do, you got this long nose that throws off your depth perception. If we put it on the side, then we've got a short nose, nothing behind us, and dude, I remember this thing. They had basically built a NASCAR roll cage, okay?
And it did mess with the CG.
Huh? What?
It did mess with the CG. You still had
exactly.
the
Putting on the
CG
side.
where it
Exactly.
needed to be.
Now, here's the thing. I don't know what kind of airplane they modified to build it on. I'm assuming it might have been a Pawnee, because I think it was a low-wing airplane. But I remember playing in it, and I can remember the guys at the local duster strip will make all these mods to the crop dusters, and they didn't ask anybody's permission. They just did it. First off, the FAA doesn't care. You're an ag pilot. Those things crack up all the time. If you crash, we'll do an investigation and blame you because of your mods. Guys were modifying crop dusters all the time. I never saw. What? No.
Sorry.
Oh, you're going to pay for that one. You shushed her. You're going to pay for that one.
Please continue whatever you're doing.
Okay. Disregard the man behind the voice behind the microphone. So anyway, when I had to deal with the feds in commercial aviation, I learned real quick. The FAA wants nothing to do with general aviation or military aviation or agricultural aviation. They want to deal with American and Delta and United. That's where they live. Okay. Once in a while, you'll get some overzealous fed that'll go to a general aviation airport and start snooping around looking for paperwork violations and stuff. It does happen, just enough to keep everybody alert. But I am 64. I've been flying since I was 10. I think I can count 4 times I've seen a Fed snooping around a general aviation airport.
I got ramp
Yeah,
checked
if you're
You got ramp
part
check?
part 91 or part 135, you don't have much to worry about. Unless you're really doing something screwy.
Yeah, Ken said he got ramp checked one time. But where were you at? Maryland?
Frederick.
Where?
Frederick. That's in Maryland.
Frederick. Well, you're at the home of AOPA. You know they're going to go up there and screw with those guys. Plus, you're 20 miles away from the center of the, demonic core of the universe, the FAA headquarters, in D.C. So, yeah.
Nothing like being in the crosshairs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the airport's right around D.C. It's going to happen, especially College Park, because for those who don't know, College Park, Maryland is the oldest continuously operating airport in America. It was actually one of them where the Wright brothers used to teach Army pilots to fly back in like 1909. And it's been open ever since. It did get caught, the post 9/11 thing, but they made a carve out for it because of its historic significance. But yeah, the Feds are around there a fair bit because you're near that, and if you're out in near Omaha or where's it? Wichita. I'm sorry, Wichita. Our airline. when I checked out with Air Midwest, they were based in Wichita. They're literally the airline's headquarters was right next door to the FAA freaking headquarters, which is Wichita, by the way, not New York, not DC. Okay, so they would just come over. All their inspectors would come over and go through our repair. Just say they didn't have to go anywhere. They could get there. They had to do so many things a month or whatever. They could just come next door and do it to the local regional airline. So I'll say one thing: Air Midwest had the tightest books in the regional airline industry. But anyway, so we when I saw the ones that you built, your early kits, and you were talking about that B-17 you probably hand painted and probably with Pactors.
Oh, that was hideous.
The smell of Pactors. I don't know. Actually, it wasn't that bad for what it will look. Trey, I don't do any better on my models today, so I'm not going to pass any judgment. But did you?
We'll take. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, but that was definitely some Pactor stuff.
But I faintly remember Pactor. I do remember the Oddities. I think the first model I ever did, it was the little IMC F5. My brother was going to let me use his paints to paint it. I was probably 8 or 9. He supervised me, God bless him. I painted the gray belly, and I painted green, and I painted brown on the top, the hand painted the camouflage. And he's like, okay, you painted it, we got to stop, go have dinner, you got to wait, you got to come back a couple hours. And I'm like 8 years old. I'm like, what do you mean I got to wait? I'm ready to paint, We got the paints. I'm ready to paint. He's like, no, you got to let it dry. By the way,
I'm ready to go.
I still have that problem today. Which explains so much. But when I was done with that thing, it had this brush painted green and brown on top and gray belly and the decals that came with it. And I thought I had built this masterpiece. And
but we all did at that age.
But I think it was Pactor. I remember they had a very distinct odor.
Absolutely. Really need to make candles.
What? Ken, what?
Sluggo's got a really good question. He says he wonders if Max ever dreamed of being a World War I or II fighter pilot.
Yeah, only every day until I was about now. But
now it's the Iranian war he dreams of being in.
Oh no, it's Chuck Yeager made a comment 30 years ago, which is still salient today. Now, don't get me wrong. For those of you who know about Chuck Yeager, he was very much the swaggering test pilot, fighter pilot, the kind of the cliche, sort of the archetype. Okay, but no one can take away that the man had mad skills. Him, Bud Anderson, Bob Hoover, those guys, just Bob Cardenas,
Hoover.
Yeah, Hoover. And they all lived to be old men who died in their beds, which is a testament to their skills. And somebody was in, I think the interview was in the 90s. And Yeager didn't have much of a filter. I don't think anybody will argue that. And he basically made the comment, he said, what do you think about our pilots today dominating the airspace? And he went up and I just goes, well, we've got such an advantage on everybody. Just lock them up with radar and push a button. It's all over. There's no dogfighting skills. I mean, that's our job. People kind of have a misunderstanding, partly probably because of the romance of World War II fighting, World War I, and that was that they think, a fighter pilot proves his mettle by going out and dogfighting with the enemy and being the better pilot. But from the military standpoint, none of that crap matters. The reason we celebrated fighter pilots is because they did their job, and that was to eliminate the enemy. If you're an Air Force general, an Army general, you don't care how good your pilots are. You care that they win. And if you can give them equipment where they just push a button and the enemy goes bye-bye, that's the mission. Okay? That's
End
your
result.
job. Is the result. Yeager lived in a time where you had to have stick and rudder skills, even in the jets. You could tear a Phantom apart just by pulling 4Gs and using the ailerons instead of the rudder. Several Phantom pilots explained that to me. I won't get in the aerodynamics now, but apparently when you load a Phantom up with more than about 4Gs, if you try to use the aileron, the adverse yaw will put the plane out of control. They tell you, you start loading up with Gs, you turn with rudder only. The airplane can handle that. And I saw an interview with a captain who was an instructor at a colonel who made the mistake on a training intercept and used aileron, and they wound up popping rivets out of a Phantom. That's
Yeah,
like
Joe Kittinger told me the same thing.
yes, yeah, he flew the Phantom exactly. So
Absolutely.
even on those second, third generation jets, the stick and rudder skills were still there. Today, our missile, although we did have an F-15 drop 3 missiles and all of them fell off the airplane and not one of them ignited. That's when that MiG-25 managed to tag one over F-15s. He got it home, but that should bloody well never have happened. And that was what, in the 90s? That wasn't that long ago. But the point I'm getting at is that missilery is so deadly now and so capable. Now you're dealing with, if you guys ever watch a Habitual Line Car Officer, he always does the F-22 who never gets to go fight because no one will take off if there's an F-22 in the sky. And but people go, well, that airplane's never
There's
been.
that.
What's that?
There's that.
Yeah. But I'm like, hold on. People go, the F-22 has never been used in combat. It's never proven it. So I'm like, oh, but I disagree. That airplane has proven its mettle by being so wicked that when it's around, the enemy won't even take off. You're talking about area denial without even flipping your radar on. Dude, that is the essence of the perfect weapon system. And in my home.
Oh, you got bows and arrows? We got an MG-42.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, wow, all right, good tangent. But hey, save me one of those. I ran out. The kids locked up in the hangar. Exactly. Let me eat. Oh God, the F-35 got it killed before the F-22. You just know the whole F-22 community is just like, they won't go to the O Club if one of those guys is on the base. So anyway, when I was Steve, we know your first kit was the 140 scale Jeep and from Revell.
The Revell Jeep and trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How old were you?
I was 4. My grandmother bought it for me, thinking that there was a Jeep and a trailer in there, which there was, but it wasn't together.
Were you able to build it?
And my father, who could not drive a nail into a wall to hang a picture correctly, helped me.
How did that turn out?
Which was like doing it myself. But it was done. It had a lot of glue fingerprints on it, but it was done. And then I spent the next, 60 some odd years trying to find that kid again, and I did. And I did a much better job this time. And I was amazed at how, I guess for the era, it had a lot of pieces. I didn't think it had that many pieces when I reflected back on it, but it did. But it's a nice little build. And I sent you a picture of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in a window box in my basement. And it has the box above the kit. And there's a sign that I made. And the sign says, and this is how it all began.
And it started off as a simple hobby.
Yeah.
I'm putting the picture up here of you with it. Let me fit the screen.
Rob Alice wants to know, Steve, did the Jeep sit on all four wheels?
Yes, it did.
That's a harder trick to pull off than you might think.
Yes, it did.
I thought about getting one of those because I like the box art, because the box art sells, and they ain't cheap.
No, not. It's amazing, it's I look at this in retrospect and I say, I think this kit was 79 or 89 cents when it was new. And now they're like $150.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm not shocked because of Trey, as you guys saw, and when we're done here, I'll run it as an outro. You guys, most of those photos were Trey's from a video that Trey did, and Trey, you had a massive collection. I mean, I built models as a kid. Of course, we destroyed them about as quick as we built them, but I never had anything near that.
Do you have the picture of it in the window box?
No, I don't. You just said that.
I sent it to you for the viewers build first kit thing.
Did?
Yeah.
Let me.
You want me to send it? You want me to send it to you now?
I'll just let it look real quick while we're talking about it. But anyway, so keep going. Well, I'm looking for this.
Well, the point I was trying to get to is that now, 79, 89 cents then, and now, I've bought kits that I've spent $200 on. I mean, it's just like,
Steve, I don't have it. You'd better send it to me again.
Oh, I will send it to you right now. I'll send it to your email.
Okay. I don't remember getting it from you, so I've had some email issues lately too. At least my editing software is working now. But how many years have clipped away since then? It's just kind of shocking. But I remember being outraged, mind you, when I saw kits that I used to spend $1 on, for monogram kits, like the 140 scale fighters, we hit $2. And, I didn't have much of a concept of that. I think that's how I learned the concept of inflation. And now they still pop the things in the exact same kit, and they want $22 for it at Michael's. I'm like, you are on crack. And I ran the numbers. Even adjusting for inflation, it should not cost more than $12. And, but like they say, yeah, but we don't make 500,000 or 50,000 at a run anymore. We make 5,000 or 1,000. And it's just whoa.
Yeah, I'd really like to find some of the kits that are missing that, especially the Cousteau. It's just I'm not willing to pay the kind of money that they want for it to replace that for my collection. But maybe someday I'll stumble across one that'll make it worth my while. But yeah, there was a lot of the ones that went missing that I'd really like to replace. It's just not going to happen.
Well, now when I was at Buena Park, I saw the Calypso PBY. Okay, not the ship. Those things you can't even. First off, I have not even been able to find one. Okay, and when they do, people tell me they're getting $300, and I don't doubt it. I did find the PBY, the Calypso PBY. Yeah,
ridiculous.
Now, are you looking for the boat or the PBY or both?
Both, actually. I'd like to replace both of them in the collection, but honestly, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, because the PBY was a PBY 6, I think, or PBN, or maybe it was a 10. But anyway, it had the tall tail, like the Cansos, and
the modified nose.
Yes, and it had the modified, and I did check the parts, and it looked like it was complete, but the box was pretty crushed up. They wanted $60 for it, and I was actually doing the PBY build with Chris Jordan. And I was like, I got, plus I had to get it in my bag and get it home. And Mike was like, and Jim Feesen were both like, or Keishan were like, Max, if you want to box them up, we'll ship them for you. And I was like, I would have more in shipping than the cost of the models, which is why I'm so grateful when people send me stuff.
But $60 for that PBY wouldn't have been too hateful.
No, it actually, actually was not. A lot of the prices that there were not out. Actually, I didn't see any that I would say were outrageous. There were a few that were like, but a lot of them were like, actually, this isn't bad. And, it's only that whole Buena Park thing is only a half-day thing. So I think they close up at 2 or 3. And
up at JaxCon 2 years ago, there was a guy with a 1/200 scale Calypso kit that I'd never even seen before, never even knew it existed. But he wanted like $600 for it. And a 1/200 scale, that's pretty cool. But for $600, it's just a bit deep for me.
that must have been some kind of novelty thing or something. I didn't even know. Yeah,
It was a one-off resin multimedia
Oh, resin.
kit,
Okay.
but it looked pretty cool. But $600, nah.
No, and that's the problem with the novel. Well, I don't know if I call them novelty, but the limited run kits. And when I was a kid, I remember people were just starting to make resin kits, and I was like, "What are these for?" I was like, "Resin? What's that?" And part of me wishes I never knew. I got it, Steve.
Oh, I sent you 2 of them. One's in the box and one's just the kit.
I've got the one with the
Just the kit.
with the Jeep parked in front of the box.
Yeah. All right. That's the first one.
JPEG.
Hey, Steve, who's the ghost
Yes.
girl that's behind you when you move out of the way?
Say that again. I didn't get any of that.
He said, "Who's the ghost girl that's behind you when you move out of the way?"
The ghost.
I was
girl?
wondering the same thing.
I got a car. I got cars behind me.
Yeah, the girl that shows up when you
No,
move out of the way.
there's
Now,
some
when you
random
move,
chick that
when you
pops
move
up
your
in there
head,
too, right?
it catches the back. You got a picture of a girl on the back wall there somewhere.
I got many pictures of a girl on the back wall.
No, I'm not talking about the stuff in the indictment.
Right
Those
behind you,
are evidence
right
photos.
behind
They're
you.
not supposed to be online.
They're cars.
Probably the one they,
No, there's one that goes up in between. It just pops up randomly and it goes away.
All right. Well, then let's go to what that is. Hold on.
Ricky Wagner says, Steve was looking very pretty a few minutes ago.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Ken.
I
I
don't
thought I
think
was
that-
hallucinating. I'm glad I'm not the only one that saw it.
Not that good. Get this picture of me.
Brian takes
Why don't you just turn around and look at the wall and see what girl is hanging in a picture?
Oh, I know who's behind me.
We do too.
Something
We're
behind
looking
you.
at you, and if they come up behind you, we see them before you do.
Yeah, if there's nobody behind you, that's even creepier.
Yeah.
No, it just popped up randomly right in between the shots. Am I right, Ken?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, every time he moves out of the way, it shows up.
Yeah,
Duck down
exactly.
for
I
a
saw
second
that
and
too.
then
I
come
thought,
back up.
whoa, that's kind of a glitchy kind of thing.
Well, that's Zoom. It's trying to interpolate the background and everything. Well, anyway. So,
Here. There.
oh yeah, okay, there she is. Right above your head. And there's another one leaning on you. There's a whole bunch of girls back there.
It's the same girl.
Is that your wife? It better
No,
be.
it's Sarah McLaughlin.
Oh yeah, he's a Sarah McLaughlin fan extraordinaire. You've been
It's
to what,
me
like
and
100
Sarah
of her concerts or
McLaughlin.
something? Look at it this way. She knows who he is, which makes the restraining order so much easier to get.
Oh, there she is. Yeah, in the upper left-hand
Well, here you
corner.
go, all you Canadians. Here you go.
Best thing to come out of Canada since the Lancaster and the CF-105.
Hey,
What? Not William Shatner?
Okay. He's from Iowa.
I thought he was from Canada.
Shatner's from Iowa. Shatner's from Canada. Kirk is from Iowa. That was the joke, Ken.
Right over my head.
Yong. So,
It's not a big jump.
I wasn't going to say it, but okay.
Man, I knew what you meant, but I didn't think it was a joke.
So Trey, you were a Cobra doc, you were a snake doctor in the Army, right?
Yes, sir.
So I saw that Cobra you built, and it looked familiar. I don't know if it was a Revell kit or not, but
Yeah, I was sold Revell G model with the round windows.
mm-hmm. And
Yeah, the funny thing about that one, the original Cobra tail rotor pitch change mechanism was a bicycle chain.
well, they stole it off the
Yeah,
Huey probably, so you know.
Yeah, there's a bicycle chain that ran up the tail, came up to the 90-degree gearbox, and that's when it changed the pitch on the tail rotor.
Remember, if it's silly but it works, it's not silly.
Absolutely.
I didn't know. Wait, in the early '70s, I built an Aurora Abrams tank several years before it came operational. I didn't know Aurora ever made. Are you sure you're not talking about the MBT 70? Well, I don't know. The M1 was being developed in the 70s, so I suppose it's possible. I didn't know Aurora ever made an XM. Back then, it had been the XM1. I remember when our friend Oil Pope brought his Aurora MBT 70. It was Renwall or Aurora? I think it was Aurora that he just built. And I looked at that tank, and it looked like it had come in out of the future. You know, it was the first like streamlined, sleek-looking tank, and not realizing that the sloped armor was to deflect rounds, not to make it go faster. But that was
Wind tunnel tested tank.
yeah. Wind tunnel. Look, we're doing 35 miles an hour. It really was an impressive vehicle. I mean, it had a lot of sophisticated technology, a lot of which made its way into the Abrams. And
But one of the funny things about the Cobra, once you depaneled it, and it took two crew chiefs about half a day to take all the panels off it for an annual.
mm-hmm.
Once the panels were off of it, you couldn't move it. They were all structural panels.
Yeah. Yeah, the Spitfire was that way. The skin was part of the structure, and they said that
Yeah.
made it very difficult to repair. You know, bullet holes and stuff. You had this lengthy, metals changing process. Whereas the Hurricane being largely out of, fabric covered,
Fabric welded.
it was just
and-
like,
yeah,
just slap another, little glue, a little fabric,
little
yeah.
dope, little fabric.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
And God, when I think about, 5 years ago I was gifted the '70s pop of the Calypso. That's not a small gift. But when it comes to early kits, I mean, I was always buying monogram fighter planes most of the time, and a lot of their stuff, like the Bearcat and the Tiger Cat, I think only came in 1/72 scale. But I always bought 1/48 scale when I could. And at one point, my brother and I had 73 models up on our shelf, and then we had the Fire, and we went in there, and all of our model collection was like a painting by Salvador Dali. Everything was just melted and extruded. And I was like, that's terrible, and it is kind of cool. But
On a different level, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, occasionally I buy an Aurora kit or a Revell kit, but the monogram kits just, well, first off, they carried a lot of them, but I was terrible about buying the same thing over and over again, like the Dauntless, the Mustang, the Messerschmitt 109, the Zero. They were always there. I always liked them. One day I bought the Hawk, little Convair, T29 trainer, and I got it home. There was no clear parts, and I didn't realize Hawk didn't put clear parts in those dinky little kits. And my mom saw that, and she was so mad that that I had spent like 69 cents or $1 on that thing, and it was. I mean, my mom was savvy enough. I built enough models. She was savvy enough to know I need to be walking in with a 1/48 scale Mustang, not this tiny little thing with no glass in it. I was almost banned from buying Hawk kits after that. It says something about the 60s when your model airplane has to stand inspection from your mother to make sure it was a worthwhile bargain.
No, my folks were always very supportive about my builds, even as bad as most of them were back in the 70s. I mean, you look at that big giant Stuka kit that I did, and the gaps and off color, and it's just so horrible. But they were like, "Oh yeah, great job, son." So
Yeah, and my dad
they
was
kept it positive, and
well, my dad had built model airplanes in the 40s, in the 30s and 40s, and they flew a lot of them. They put engines on them. They were all stick and tissue. He was more into the flying models, but he was always promoting. He was always giving model airplanes and stuff because I think he wanted some. He loved aviation. He wanted something. He wanted his boys to be in aviation, so he was more than happy to promote it. Mom wasn't worried about that. She was to make sure I wasn't getting ripped off, by spending $1 for something that should cost 69 cents. And I know we joke about that, but in 1968, a quarter had some value. I mean, you could still buy stuff for a penny. One of my first lessons in inflation was when Super Bubble was 2 cents instead of 1 cent. Remember the yellow and blue wrapped Super Bubble? And it was basically a barrel-shaped pink chunk of hard sugar. And I remember it was always penny. Always had penny candy. I go in a convenience store one day, everything's 2 cents. I'm like, what the? My universe had changed. This was like when in Star Trek when they blew up Vulcan. I'm like, wow, this just changes everything.
I used to get crap all the time. Why are you wasting your time with this? You're wasting so much time. After you do it, half of the inside you can't see. Why do you do this? And I had an uncle who was an engineer, and he worked for Continental Insurance. And when they were going to insure something, they would send him to make sure that it was up to snuff. So he was pretty handy. He could build a lot of things, but he used to bust my cookies all the time. Oh, are we going to play with our models now? Mm-hmm. And then one day when I was older, much older, and I had worked in the business, one day I showed him how much I made for working for a company that built models, and that shut him up.
You would think an engineer, people would appreciate you would think an engineer would appreciate the fact that you're using your hands and everything. By the way, speaking of model, this little display, the little reciprocating sander, this thing developed a problem, and of course, I didn't realize I've had this thing a year. And in fairness, full disclosure, I dropped it a couple of times hard on the floor. So I'm sure I broke something inside. Plus, it's well outside of warranty. What I'm sad about is I contacted Display, who's out of China. And I asked him, is there anybody who fixes these things? Is there any place you got to make? Never heard back from them. This is the kind of thing. And these things aren't cheap. But, it still works. But, and they're handy little things. But when I'm using it, and I thought I would just show this to you guys in case anybody had any ideas. Okay, it works, but just a little pressure, and it stops.
Shutting it down.
Drop it again.
The slapping school of electronic repair.
Oh, crap. See, that almost worked. Which is sad, because these things are kind of handy for getting a little
honestly,
areas.
Max, for the money that you spent on it, is it worth it?
I got a year out of it, and I used it a reasonable amount. What are these things running, Steve? $50 or something?
Yeah, like $49. Yeah.
Had I not, remember, I dropped it a couple of times, so I can't blame the tool. All right. I'm debating on getting another one. This one still works if I'm real light, but the thing is that you can't really bear down with this. This is a sanding tool, not a grinding tool. And I'm pretty.
Can you take it apart?
So you gotta let the sandpaper do the work.
Yes.
It's just there to do the oscillation.
I don't see any mechanism for taking apart, Steve. I think these are designed a single unit, thing. Is it worth it if you use it the way you're supposed to and don't go heavy-handed like I did and don't keep dropping it from 3 feet onto the floor? I would say, yeah, because you're not doing this all the time. You just hold it and just let the sandpaper do the work. But they give you 1 grit of sandpaper, and of course you can glue any sandpaper to it. And they give you all these heads. So
no, they don't give you 1 grit of sandpaper.
Maybe I just always used the 1 grit, so they gave you a couple of
I got like 5 different grits of sandpaper with mine.
Knowing me, I probably lost the other ones. I keep finding them in places they should not be. Most likely, I took the thing out, started playing with it, and let the stuff get separated. It's probably around here somewhere. But is it worth it if you use it properly and judiciously like you're supposed to? I would say, yeah, it probably is. But if you're like me and you're a heavy-handed ogre, I'm used to being a little more aggressive than this tool is designed to be because I'm usually using sanding sticks or something. But there are times when that thing is really getting little wedges in the corners. Like at times like that, it really is nice. But it's not something I used every day. So if you're doing fine detail work, you need to sand it down, I'd say yes. But if you're not, I would say no.
So is this your announcement of a GoFundMe?
Yeah, go find me a new Despy. It's like that circle cutter I got. I just bought that Fisker. And Despy also makes a circle cutter. I almost bought theirs, but and theirs is actually cheaper than the Fisker. But we were at Hobby Lobby and they had one hanging on the wall. And the lady goes, "We do price matching." It was $35, but they price matched, so we got $28, I think. So I came home, immediately grabbed a piece of acetate and started. And I talked about that. If you're going to use those circle cutters, they are nice. They do an okay job. But the thing they don't tell you that you need to do, you need to take your acetate and pin it down or tape it down where it can't move. Because even with that nice, yeah, because even with that nice rubber plunger they give you, if you start dialing real light, it doesn't tend to move too. It's not too bad. But you got to make like 20 circles to get it to cut through, and you know they're going to get off center eventually. Okay, this is still just a plastic tool. You need to anchor it down, and it's awkward, but they all are, because you got to hold it down with your non-dominant hand and then rotate it, and you need that third hand to hold it in place. I did get a couple of good cuts, which brings us to the next thing. Today, I was out there, I decided, since one of the landing gears is missing from that Spitfire, I decided I'll go ahead and make a spinny prop for it. And I had the nice, clean, measured spinny prop cut. Well, this will be in a bit. It's got the two-piece spinner. I figured I'll just sand that down, glue the clear part on, and then put the nose cone on. But it's got the scallops for the props that you're going. So I figured, I'll putty these in. Boy, you know how hard it is to hold on to a 1/72nd scale prop spinner, which is shaped like a cone. I mean, the thing will not stay in your hands. Okay, and I'm trying to file and put putty. I must have chased that thing across the floor 2-3 times. But anyway, I finally just packed some putty in there, let it harden, and as soon as I started sanding, it just broke up and came out. I mean, I'm done with the airplane. This is like the last thing I have to do. What I should have done was cut a little piece of styrene and glued it to the inside of the prop to put a backing where the putty needs to go, instead of just trying to fill an open hole with it. But the problem is holding on to the bloody thing. I was like, I cannot, even with rubber gloves and the tacky gloves, it's just so, and it's shaped like a cone. It wants to, do like a bar of soap on you every time you grab it. It's hard to pick up off the floor. This is ridiculous. I'm chasing this thing around. I'm kind of like, if the blue troopers could see me now, what fleeting respect they have for me would be gone. So,
JMDFCV says, you need to compensate for the Coriolis effect.
Yeah. So what I did today was I had the holes. I had 2 of them filled. So what I did is I went ahead and glued it down to the clear plastic. So now it's on something. And tomorrow I'm going to go in and try and very carefully put a little white Tamiya. Put some tape over the plastic so it didn't get all the smear all over that. I'm going to try and smooth in a little Tamiya white putty. Let that harden. Try to sand it down, clean it, brush paint it white. If it's even reasonably acceptable, I'm just gluing it onto the front of the airplane, and I'm done. I was going to make a video tonight, but I realized we got the live stream. I didn't actually download the photos off my phone, but got to admit, it is looking pretty good. I'm not unhappy with the basic airplane. I even took a photo with this prop from the other Spitfire, which is all done just as like an insurance photo. But for the first build, my first kit was an Airfix bag kit Spitfire when I was like 4 or 5, and it was a disaster. But it was blue, and I used to think it was the BTK Spitfire, the one that Airfix made in the 50s. But they said it went out of production in 59. And then JEJ, the cleaned up, better design, because apparently the original Spitfire was a little off. JEJ, which is their second iteration, which was also a bag kit and was blue, was in production from 59 until the 60s. So I don't think thing would have been dangling on a shelf for 6 years, 5 years. So I always tell everybody my first kit was the BTK Spitfire. I think it was the JEJ Spitfire, the second Airfix bag Spitfire. I found one on eBay and I thought about getting it, but people want stupid prices for these things. Even though a lot of it was repopped in like 03. And I think this is a repop. Now I'm getting emails that will not leave me alone from eBay going, we'd like you to make an offer. And I'm like, half of them wants to go $2. Yeah. That's a repop. Don't be trying to sell me, I ain't paying for memories. But the 3 Spitfires are what I'm building for my first kit build, because I do remember that first kit vividly. I was so excited, because my brother was always building model airplanes. I felt like I got one of my own. Felt like I was running around without my parents around, because my grandmother didn't know any better, bought it for me. It was 69 cents, something like that. But man, I didn't know that water slide decals, how they worked. So my grandmother didn't either. So she just cut out the decals. We taped them on the side of the plane.
Epic.
The more you know. And we put it together with white glue, so saying it was a glue bomb is insulting bombs. It's just,
There's that memory there with it, though.
Oh, I can remember this like it was happening. I can even remember the way the room smelled. I can remember the smell of the plastic. And
that's awesome.
And later on, every time we go to Bainbridge, Georgia, my dad's cousin owned a drugstore. And in the sundry section,
remember the non-toxic glue that smelled like orange?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Had citrus smell to it.
I have a tube of that. I actually built a model with it recently, just for old time's sake. That stuff didn't adhere worth a crap. Guess what?
You got to get the old Tester's glue with the horseradish in it.
That's why that's what I'm using. I've gone back to using Tester's red tube. The new formula dries quick. It dries solid. I'm like, the only problem is it's still thick like molasses, and since it's string out, you got to be careful. But okay, I'm going to let you guys know a little something here, and I'm not proud to say this. I still have the bad habit from when I was a kid of putting the glue on the model right out of the tube. Depending on the model. Everybody's like, no, you've got to have an applicator or adapter. You never go straight from the tube. I'm like, you don't? Well, that explains an awful lot of fingerprints, doesn't it? But,
meanwhile, when Charlie Miller decided to do that because there was such an uproar about kids sniffing glue out of a bag in the
huffing
70s,
yeah,
and he put the horseradish in there, he got a commendation from Richard Nixon.
Yeah, he got like the Presidential Free Medal of Freedom or something like that.
And he was so embarrassed that if anybody ever brought it up to him, he would just get horrified. He just couldn't believe that the president would recognize him for something like that.
Well, you remember how big the anti-drug kick was back then, and
well, I'll tell you what. Have you guys seen the Jolly Rancher freeze-dried that are for sale in stores across America?
I don't think so.
They're little balls of Jolly Rancher, and they're kind of like the ones you put in your mouth, and they sort of melt in your mouth, and you kind of, you don't have to chew them.
Uh-huh.
So there are different flavors and they're different colors. So I was in a Wawa, and I happened to be talking to the manager, and I said, you go through a lot of these. They said, are they buying them or are they stealing them? He goes, we're not sure yet. So there's a Dover, New Jersey police officer there filling out a report because they had somebody they caught shoplifting. And the guy says to me, he goes, you know what they do with that stuff, don't you? And I'm like, no, what do they do with it? He said, every drug house we raid, he said, they got bags of them. He says, they crush them up and they mix them in with the stuff that they snort. He said, because it gives them a flavor.
My God.
Holy crap.
Wow.
Yep. I was like, there you go. Ingenuity in America.
Yeah. We're definitely not hurting for criminal ingenuity in this country.
Make it work.
Yeah.
Well, what was that monster drink or the power drink that they were using to their ad something to, and so they were getting like high and buzzed and zapped on caffeine, purple something, or I forget what it was. But my nephew had to tell me what it was when he was in high school. I was like, good God. Yeah, well, good Lord.
I worked for this company, and they did a promo with the Monster Energy company. So the Monster Energy company sent them a freezer thing, and they sent them cases of this stuff, and they would keep sending it. So these guys would drink 3 or 4 of these things a day. They would be so wired up by the end of the day, they didn't need a car to go home. They could just ran home. They wouldn't know the difference. I was like, oh my God.
I just said, Steve, you need help? I can help you. I'm done with my work. I'll help you with your work. You got anything you need to do? Because I'd like to do something right now. I don't want to hold still. I can't hold still. I can't hold still. Rain Man on speed.
It was like the guy. They were like the guy who used to do the Micro Machines commercial. You remember that guy?
Yeah. Slugo says, my dad said if you sniff test or glue your head would turn into mush. Literally, now I'm a glue trooper. Who'd have thunk it? Purple drink, Skittles, and vodka. That was it.
True, Slugo.
Skittles and vodka. It's called purple drink. That was exactly it. Oh my God. Oh Lord.
Burbiton.
Oh, let me tell you, what years ago, when I had a couple of friends of mine, we used to rent a house down the Jersey Shore, and they had some friends of theirs from Philadelphia. Then guys from Philadelphia were crazy, and they had one guy who was
Trust
a
me, I've
pharmacist.
seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I know what you mean.
And this guy was a pharmacist. And his last name was Cox. He used to make Dr. Cox's magic elixir. He'd get a trash pail and he'd put a garbage bag in it. He'd fill it up with ice and some water, and he'd put a fifth of gin, a fifth of vodka, and a fifth of grain alcohol in it.
There's a boy now to party.
Woo! You were paralyzed for the weekend.
Yeah.
It was like
Ready to party now.
Oh my God! It was like, oh.
I was introduced to grain alcohol in the Army.
We came home one night. We came home from a night out one night, and we wake up the next morning. And so, what's the first thing we're going to do? We're going to just, we're going to start drinking. So we start drinking this stuff, and all of a sudden we hear giggling outside, and then it goes away. We're giggling, and then it goes away. We're like, what the heck's going on outside? So we look around. We're missing one of the guys. So we look out the front door, and there he is, spread eagle on the lawn, didn't make it to the house. And so we were about a block away from the beach. So the giggling was all the girls walking to the beach. We couldn't figure out why they were giggling until we went over. And he had the complete inseam of his jeans completely split open. He had no underwear on.
Careful, Family Channel.
So one of the guys goes, we should cover him up. We can't leave him out here like this. So we go in the garage. We find a rug. We rolled him up in a rug and left him out on the lawn. Well, it got to be about 100 degrees, and all of a sudden we hear this knocking on the door and this, help you. And we go outside, and there he is. He says, I woke up, and I was all dark. I thought I was dead.
Come on, Steve. It was you.
No, it wasn't me.
I've been dangerously close to being that guy on 1 or 2 occasions. But
pretty funny.
Fortunately, I was indoors, but...
The only thing that was funnier was one of the guys, we couldn't find him one night, and one of the guys goes, oh yeah, there was a phone call about 3 o'clock in the morning, something about the police station, come bail me out, So we get dressed, and we go down to the police station, which is about 2 blocks away, and this guy worked for IBM. He made some really good money, much better than we were. And there's his new Lincoln Continental under the back of the patrol car in front of the police station. So we go in and we go, excuse me, we're here. And they go, oh yeah, he's in the cell down the end. He says, go ahead, down there. We get down there, we hear this whimpering, and he goes, oh, I thought you guys forgot me. I was going to have to be in here forever. Luckily now, we're talking about this is the 70s. The police chief got to him, listen, we'll cut your deal. And he goes, anything. He goes, pay for the patrol car, we'll let you go.
Yeah, done.
And he wrote him a check right there. Now, if he wrote him a check for like $12,000 right on the spot, they took it to the bank and cashed it and said, "Okay, you can go."
Yep. There was back when I was a patrolman, we got a call. I answered.
Unreal.
And it was, we got a naked guy in our front yard. And I was, God, I don't want this call. 111, God dang it, 111. Yeah. And does the complainant want to meet me? Negative. They just want to. So I parked my car. Not exactly a lights and siren call. It's Saturday morning, which means it followed Friday night. It's about, we got off at 7:40 in the morning, so I guess it's about 6:30 a.m. And there is this gigantic, I think it was what was that car from the 70s show, the Buena Vista? The station
Oh, the
wagon?
Vista Cruiser.
Vista Cruiser. I think it was a Vista Cruiser. Every time I see that 70s show car, I think of it, okay? There's this big gun. Now, mind you, this is 1988, so the car would have only been, I guess, about 10 years old. But anyway, there's this gunboat, late 70s, yellow station wagon, if I remember serves me right. And I walk up, all the seats are down except the front two, and there is this 40-year-old, balding, slightly overweight, Caucasian male, out cold, butt naked, on his back. I won't give any more details, but I just take the baton and tap, tap, tap. His eyes open up. It takes me about 2 seconds to see the situation. He starts curling up and covering up and da-da-da-da. I'm like, roll. And he's like, "Yes, sir." Like, ID. I get a field and what you doing? I don't remember. Let me run this by you, since this is a predominantly African American neighborhood, and by predominantly I mean 100%. Okay. He came down here to score a little crack. Picked up one of the local crack hoes. I'm not exactly sure how Max's models got on this story, but you guys
And she
did
rolled
what you did. You got your wallet.
Captain Tangent strikes again.
He's like, "You got your wallet?" Yeah. He makes sure and finds his wallet, devoid of any cash. Okay. Got his driver's license. Yeah. So I fill out the field information card. He hadn't actually committed a crime, so I'm like, okay, off you go. He took off. And I'm like, "You send me on this call? Fine. The field information card will read as such." And I basically told the whole story with all of the minutiae and details, step by step included, including where his hands were, what he was doing, yada, 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 yada. And I gave that to my sergeant. He read it. He's like, "You really want me to believe?" "Yeah, absolutely." So that went up the chain. Now it's a field information card. They just keep it for police intelligence.
And when did that guy get elected senator?
Yeah. His name was Swalwell. But anyway, anywho, it was just one of those things. I was like, this used to be funny. Now it's just getting old. I think everyone should do 2 years as a patrolman, because it will teach you things about life and the real world we live in that will.
There's not enough ammo for everybody to do it for 2 years.
I mean, you're like, these people vote.
Yeah.
Pappy Bollington, in his book, Baba Black Sheep, he talked about after the war, he spent a lot of time working as a referee for like wrestling matches and boxing matches, and how the people in the crowds are just animals. Kill him, and he was watching them act like, and he's like, and he says all he could think was, these people vote. Anyway, so I think we should get,
I thought.
And so the first model you built, Trey, was
the Mustang.
I'm going out on a limb here and saying it had to have been the Mustang or the F-80. Those are the two that come to mind.
Now, what's the first one you remember building the way it was supposed to be built and actually having something you put on the shelf? Because I'm still waiting to make that model myself.
That's harsh.
Yeah, we're still working on that one.
I am still working on that one. Wow. I can't even put a finger on that one because there's so many that went so south so quick. Back in the day. One that I could say probably that I would be okay with was probably one of the early armor builds that I did. Maybe the Stug.
I still remember my brother
I
telling
think
me
that
about
one.
building tanks is easy because you can cover up all the glue smears with camouflage or battle.
Yeah, you could cover a myriad of sins with weathering and all the other stuff. But yeah, I'd have to say it would be one of my earlier Panzer IVs or a Stug that I did way back in the day.
The worst is when you work on that thing for weeks and you're just about at the end and you go, I'm going to do one more thing. And you do that and it totally screws it up.
God, I have
And then
done
you're
that
like,
so many
What am I
times.
going to do now? Now I got to redo it all
Yeah,
over
kick it over
again.
the top and it goes, oh, this didn't well.
I spent 20
I tell you,
minutes.
one that I'm working on now that is a surprisingly ugly kit is the Trumpeter 148 scale Su-15 Sukhoi.
Mm-hmm. I saw the pictures you posted on Facebook.
I am struggling with that. It's been a couple of times I've been ready to throw that one in the den.
What, Trumpeter just made lousy fits or what?
It's one of those things. I built the Trumpeter SM79 Sparviero.
Mm-hmm.
Great kit. Had a blast with that one. This one, it's like the kit shifted. Everything's out of alignment. Had to rescribe everything on it. The nose was blown apart and completely scattered like a shotgun that you would stick into the water and shoot, and the barrel blows apart.
Uh-huh.
That's how the nose looked when I got it. The plastic is brittle, thin. It didn't help that I got an aftermarket resin upgrade kit for the cockpit.
Is this an old Trumpeter kit or a new production?
It's a pretty old kit.
Oh, okay.
I
'Cause
picked
they have
it
one of
up
their
at
old ones. They love
JaxCon.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I picked it up at JaxCon. Like, I don't know when you had the bench up there. Where you
Oh
were
yeah, I remember that. I
up
remember
at
showing it
JaxCon.
to me. I know the model you're talking about.
Yeah, I scored it up there with Fran, and I got it for next to nothing.
I remember that. I think the guy knew what he was selling you.
He saw me coming.
It's like
But,
buying a Pinto used.
Yes. In all honesty,
Vega.
I didn't pay much for the kit, and I thought, okay, make something out of this. And I've got 4 other Sukhois, so this was going to be like the 5th Sukhoi for a collection build. But I don't even know that I could put this on a table after it's said and done. I wouldn't feel comfortable taking it to a contest.
Yeah, dog always likes a
It's
new
that
chew
bad.
toy. If styrene wasn't poisonous, I'd say give it to the dog as a chew toy.
It's been a struggle, but I'm this far along with it. I'm going to finish it out. It's not going to be something I'm going to stick on a contest table, but I will finish it.
Bill Paul says something here, and he's absolutely right. I have found Trumpeter to be one of the most hit and miss companies. They have some really good ones, and I built the first Trumpeter kit I built was the FT5, which is the Chinese copy of the 2-seat MiG-19 or MiG-17, which, by the way, the Russians never made one. The Chinese modified on their own. But when I got it, it had like 3 different nose cones, and it turns out the Pakistanis have a version, the Chinese have a version, the Albanians had a version. All these countries that would make their own, because it was an easy airplane to modify, so a lot of them with local industry would change them. And the instructions were not real clear about what, and I was like, because they gave you multiples of a whole bunch of stuff because you could have different, equipment. I'm like, so I just took a guess which one to put on. I put a flattened out, and the cockpit there was a big gap between the ejection seat and the instrument panel for the back seater, which turned out to be real handy because I pounded a 44 slug flat and dropped it in there to get it on its nose. And it still kind of didn't really set on its nose. And one of the gears, I glued it together to let it harden. And for some reason, one of them would just always bend. And I was afraid to put any more glue on it. So it's in the tarbis in the back of the shelf, and it's still sitting on its tail. I'm just kind of like, it looked okay. I mean, but I did one of my earliest build videos on it, but I was like, I was not a big fan of Trumpeter after that, but everybody was like, well, they make all these great kits, and this kit probably dates back to their earlier days. But
Well, like I said, the SM79 Sparviero in 1/48 scale.
Is that the Italian
Great kit.
tri-motor?
Went together nice. Everything fit great. Scales
Is
out
that
great.
That's the 3-engine airplane, the tri-motor?
Yes, the Italian aircraft. Yeah.
Yeah.
Torpedo
That was
bomber.
actually, it doesn't look it, but that was actually a pretty fast airplane.
Yeah. And the Trumpeter kit, it's a great. It goes together fine. There's no fit issues. Scales out nice.
I finally got my first Italian fighter
aftermarket
plane.
decals for it, but
Yeah, I finally got my first
Yeah.
Italian fighter plane. The Falcon 50, the radial engine, because it was an old Airfix kit. The only problem I had with the fit was getting the cowling on. It didn't want to fit, but I was like, I finally have an Italian airplane on here. Well, I did have the CR-42, but I built that years ago. But I was, people forget about the Italian airplanes. Everybody's building German, Japanese, American, and British, maybe Russian. And the Italians, it's hard to find a good kit of like a G55 or something that's not, an arm and a leg. The 1/72nd scale stuff, most of them I built don't have the greatest fits. But the thing is, the Italians really made some great airplanes. They just didn't have the industry. They underarmed them. They usually didn't have a lot of firepower. But everyone who's flown them loved them. They said they're fun to fly.
the SM79, the Sparviero, was basically a composite aircraft. It had wood wings.
Mm-hmm.
It had a welded tube tail section and a skinned main fuselage. So it was kind of a weird aircraft for its time. But
That's not
by all
uncommon
accounts,
with Italian.
the pilots and the crews liked them.
Oh yeah, well, think
Pretty
about it.
robust aircraft.
Even after the war, Giuseppe Belanca, all the Belancas were the same way, and I've flown many of them, and up to the Viking, which was the last one they produced, the 300-horse engine.
Yeah.
Steel tube fuselage with fabric covering, wooden wings, metal up front, no rivets on the wings, no rivets on the body, very clean. Giuseppe loved that wooden wing and that metal covered, that fabric covered metal fuselage, because you didn't have to rivet, it was easy to repair, and the airplane was quick, tight inside.
Solid aircraft.
It is, and it flies like a truck. I mean, that thing is a good instrument platform. My only concern with that airplane, it always worried me, was you smoke an engine on that thing, you are coming down like a homesick manhole cover.
True.
But that could be said for a Beatty or a Mooney or,
Yeah, the Mooney was almost in the same area.
Actually,
They were very
the
similar.
Mooney and the Viking had a lot in common. They were both very fast, very
They did.
efficient, but they came down in a hurry. The thing that made the Mooney different was the Viking would drop on the runway. The Mooney wants to float. And my understanding is those hockey puck shock absorbers didn't have a lot of give to them.
Well, I've flown in a Mooney, and you're
Snug,
basically
isn't it?
sitting on the floor.
Oh yeah. The Viking's
It's
a little
a
more
strange. It's a strange setup.
In order of
But
comfort,
it's a fast aircraft.
it is. Well, you pay for that efficiency with the lack of, by squeezing everybody in this tiny little tube. In order of comfort, the Mooney's at the bottom of the list. The Belanca is one step above it. A lot of the Beaches are a snug fit. The Pipers get a little roomier,
Yes,
and the
the
Cessnas tend to be the most
The
comfortable.
A36s were, yeah.
Yeah, and you get in the Lance or the Cherokee 6, you got a fairly spacious cockpit, and the Cessnas can be pretty roomy too, depending on which model you get. But I think Piper probably had the most comfortable. Ken and I spent a lot of time in that Cherokee 6. It was one of the first airplanes I flew in that really had a spacious cockpit. I always tell people it makes the greatest four-seater. Pull out those middle seats unless you got children in them because they got no leg room, and you can paddle on cart, because if you can squeeze the door shut, that puppy will fly.
Yeah,
And,
big thick wing.
yeah, Ken and I had our share of adventures in that Cherokee 6. And,
Yep.
yeah. Had a cargo door, had the 4 cargo doors pop open on us in flight one time when we were coming down into Bader. And,
Remember the sign on the aft cabin that said only the pilot can operate this door?
yeah, so the passengers would be trying to open the door in flight. But,
No, it's because there was no door handle on the inside.
well, that kind of solved the problem.
Yes, it did.
That was just to put their mind at ease. Because it had the old car door handles and they'd stripped out and the knobs stripped out. And Piper was like, well, if you want these fixed, you got to bring it here. We have to take the whole entire door assembly apart, replace this piece. It's not a screw in, screw out piece. It's up in the mechanism. And, it'll be $1,500. You know, I was like, the plane would cost $28,000, you know. So we just went and got a pair of ice grips and clamped them on there. Man, at the feds had seen that, they had kittens.
Get the FAA seal of approval on that?
Not hardly.
I'm sure that was a PMA set of ice grips.
Oh, yeah, it has a special number printed right on the side.
Yeah, in crayon. But
And then there's that one time that the handle broke in the front, too, and we couldn't get out of the plane.
yeah, we had to have the line boy come out and open the door from the outside.
Oh, gosh.
God, if that thing had caught on fire.
Surprised you didn't get grounded.
That'd have been
with that
buggy.
Actually, that airplane should have been grounded for that. It really should have been. And
That
like-
never happens.
yeah, Trey, you're the last person I got to tell this to, but even a minor thing on an airplane like that, that was the prisoner transport version. But even a minor repair on an airplane, something like that, with the labor and the parts and the expense, thousands of dollars for what on a car would be a $200
We had-
repair.
We had an aircraft owner lost his life over a bad ground strap.
Really?
He had a Cherokee 6 had a bad ground strap on it. When the aircraft got hot, it wouldn't pull through compression. So he had his wife in the cockpit, an elderly gentleman, and he had to pull it through compression to get it to start after it got hot. So he's there at the aircraft at the ramp, getting it refueled. It's hot. It wouldn't pull through compression because of the bad ground strap.
Now, what's the ground strap? That's the ground, the starter?
Ground to the engine, to the airframe. That
Okay.
big braided flat piece of
Right.
wire.
Right, so you complete the
it's-
circuit, yeah.
Maybe a $60 piece of ground strap.
Uh-huh.
So he had his wife in the aircraft, and he's going to pull it through compression to get it to start. And
By hand?
So he's propping it off?
yeah, he's hand propping it through compression because the bad ground wouldn't let it was
starter
drawing too
work.
many amps, wouldn't let the starter pull it through.
Right, gotcha.
So she's sitting in the cockpit. He tells her, "Hey, turn the mags off, left, right, both." Well, she left one of the mags hot. He pulled it through. It lit. It got him, and killed him instantly on the ramp out there in front of Executive Airport. So the aircraft's in a circle around the ramp. One of the lot lizards jumped up on the wing, jumped in the aircraft, shut everything off. She's in total, she killed her husband. But they had to leave him out there for the whole day
Yeah, it's crime
while
scene.
they did an investigation
Yeah.
on it. So, yeah. So, over a bad ground strap.
And sadly, that's not even, the worst case of things like that. There's been all kinds of, minor things that there's a reason we do things the way we do them. And when I look back at the nonsense I got away with when I was a
absolutely.
young pilot, it's like God just reaches down and he says, I'm just going to protect you because you're a moron and you need my protection. And some of the stuff I did was, we were three
Right.
echelons past stupid. But what do they say? God watches out for kids, fools, and ships named Enterprise.
Babes and fools.
Drunken sailors.
Yeah. But, and the worst part is, I didn't even have drugs or alcohol to blame these bad decisions
Yeah, and
on. It was
drunken
just
sailors, yeah.
rank stupidity.
Oh, you also remember that Cherokee 6, the outside starter plug didn't work?
Yeah, the ground power.
That's it, yeah. That
Yeah,
didn't
the
work
Cherokee
either.
actually had an external plug, so you could, like, if the battery was dead, you could literally, like, plug it into power and just
Yeah,
plug it
you
in
can
and get
stick
power.
your GPU on it.
Yeah, and but it had never
Stick
been
your round
used. It was
pounder in
30
it.
years old. I'm sure it corroded, but it's a pity because a couple times we could have used it. And
Okay, so now let's ask the question, since we've all discussed the first kit you built, how many kits have everybody built since the first one?
dear God,
Ooh,
Jesus,
wow.
Trey built
That's a good
300 before he
question.
went in the army. I'm gonna say 1,000, but I really don't know.
I'd have to say mine would be in the 600 range.
Yeah, maybe I'm
Somewhere in
600 range.
600s.
That sounds, yeah, I'm in 1,000, but it's okay. What kits have you built more than once? Half the monogram, most of the monogram 148 scale line would apply to me for sure.
I know I built several P61 kits, more than 4 or 5 of those.
Is
The
that your
Tamiya
most built- is that your most built
P47
kit?
kits, I've probably built 7 or 8 of those. Motorcycle kits, gosh, I built at least a dozen of each of those for different customers, not for myself, just commission builds. But yeah, a lot of motorcycle kits, just because of the nature of the builds and the people that I know that want them.
After watching Chris Jordan working on that police bike, that big Revell police bike, there's somewhere in this little part of me that wants to. I've only built a couple of the only real detailed motorcycle. I built a couple as a kid, and they were big time blue bombs. The one that I built with my buddy Donovan, the Revell Vincent Black Shadow, I built that at the crash.
Oh, that's a good kit. That's a good kit.
Yeah, and it looked good when I was done with it, and I was like, you know what? I was actually right proud of that, but the seat didn't look right. And then I saw a real Vincent Black Shadow. I know it really does sit up that high.
Yep.
Because it has that seat
No,
that
that's
sits so weird looking, and apparently the Black
great
Shadow
motorcycle.
supposed to be
Great
a
kit of
screamer,
that
yeah.
motorcycle.
But I was thinking, maybe I ought to build one of those big scale motorcycles. That would be something different. But the one thing I kept getting as a kid, as a gift, and I think it's because the local dime stores had them for sale. I guess I got a bunch of you get 2 of them for $3. Was it AMT made that ice cream tricycle thing? it's like an ice cream man's. It's got the big box on front of the ice cream, but it's got a rear wheel and then a wheel on each side up front, like a reverse tricycle. It's got the overhang, and I kept getting that thing, and I was like, why stop giving me this? I'm wasting glue. I built them all, but it wound up sitting on the shelf until the fire. And it survived. Why, I don't know. All my airplanes melted. That was on the upper shelf. Somehow it, escaped all the ice cream kept it from getting too hot. But all the things to make a model of. What's the weirdest model thing you've made a model of?
The Chronoplan.
Oh yeah, that definitely qualifies.
Yeah,
Steve?
that's the weirdest kit I've ever built. And in all honesty, it was one of the nicest kits I built, fit wise.
Oh, good.
It went together
Is that a
great.
trumpeter?
Tacom.
Tacom. Oh, by
Yeah,
the way,
one.
question for you. Fran gave me that metal Spitfire 148 scale to build, and Marty gave me the Ortho or Orso, whatever that stuff you're supposed to bathe it in to etch it. When I get around, what do you use on it? CA glue? What do you glue metal with?
You can either use JB Weld,
Okay.
or you can use CA. Cleanliness is going to be your friend in that arena. JB Weld is going to be a little bit more aggressive bond, where you can clamp it and hold it in place. For the smaller parts, I'd say the CA glue would be your better bet. Glue and all the other smaller parts to it. But like for doing the main pieces together, I would go with JB Weld.
Okay. I have to get some. I haven't used that in a long time. Is that like MEK or is that a completely different substance?
Totally different. But once it bonds, it's set and you can file it like metal.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually tap and thread JB Weld. It's that strong. I use it a lot in the knife building stuff.
Mm.
Used to use it to seal up gas tanks that had a leak.
Oh,
Oh yeah, absolutely, Steve.
Yeah. You know, you'd be at the track, something hit the gas tank, put a leak in it. Oh, let's get JB Weld.
Yeah. So
Slap
some
it on
JB Weld
it.
in that bad boy.
Half an
It's
hour
impervious.
later, it would be like it was welded that way.
Yeah, it's impervious to the
hi,
fuel.
Roger.
Yeah. Good call, Steve.
So they're talking about World War One aircraft. I remember the first time I rigged an airplane was the Waldo Pepper Sopwith Camel, and it came with the holes already in it. They intended you to rig it. It was large scale. I was so excited. That's when I realized that just having the holes in place does not make it easy to rig. It's nice, you know, everything goes. But I was like, okay, this is getting to be a pain in the keister. But the DR1, they the other place, like he's pointing out, the Fokkers didn't have a lot of rigging on them. So I was like, that's a cheat. Because you go buying yourself FE2 or something like that, or BE2, and like, good God, these things are a bloody nightmare. Oh, well, this one's already got the holes. That'll be easy to rig. I'm like, yeah, how exactly were you planning on attaching those wires there?
Well, Stuart Gregory gets the quote of the week. If you can remember how many models you've built, you haven't built enough.
There you go.
There you go.
So the old saying is that
As far as rigging goes on World War I aircraft, some of those British aircraft with the double rigging,
yeah,
that's just nightmare fuel.
yeah. Well, one thing I've seen that I thought would be a great idea is go ahead and get your medium easy line or whatever it is, run it through a pair of gas patch, loop it through a pair of gas patch turnbuckles, tie it off, glue it, then slide the knot into one of the turnbuckles and glue it in place. Then anchor one, and when you're done, anchor the other, and that way you've got the double line just by looping it through one turnbuckle on each side. Now I know in reality they would each have their own turnbuckle, but I'm trying to be economical here. It's so small. I don't think anybody's gonna.
Now that works. The problem I have with a lot of that is getting the turnbuckles on the correct angle once everything's together.
Yep.
So that's another consideration you have to take into fact. And the other thing with the easy line is it's flat. So if you get turns in it and they're not consistent, it looks odd when it's all together.
Mm-hmm. I know they make.
That's why I've been going the polyester line with holding it with the weights and everything.
Mm-hmm. I know that they make for a lot of models they make the brass photo etch rigging that you just.
Yes.
I haven't used it.
Yes.
My only concern about that is that means your biplane, if everything's going to fit, your biplane has to be perfectly straight so that all the dimensions are right. Because if somebody get a little twist in there, one's going to be too long, the other's going to be too
Absolutely.
short.
If you don't have the wing incidence right,
Yep.
if you've got negative or positive incidence on the leading edge,
Yep.
it's not going to work. You can always trim it, and that's a thing. But the other thing I've been using is guitar string.
I have some that I got from Eduardo's guitar, and there's certain merits to that, but you got to make sure that the guitar string often isn't really that straight. Often, depending on it's what you're getting. The little ones aren't so bad. The bigger one, well, the big ones you're not going to use anyway. But
I find that the ones that have the winding around it,
uh-huh.
if you take the winding off,
Mm-hmm.
strip the winding off of it, weight the core part of it down, and heat it with the propane torch while it's weighted, you're good to go. You're actually taking the temper out of it and making it a little bit easier to work with.
No, it's a lot of work.
In the Model
Yeah,
Y,
it's a long way around to go, but at the same time, you're getting a scale piece of line that's not going to sag or bend once you get it set.
In the model railroad world, we call that music wire.
Music wire.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely, kid.
It's funny you should mention that because the when I was at the Crawford Museum in Cleveland, the model, they have all of the Williams air racing models built under glass, and the people who built those, they had all the rigging on them with no visible attach points, you know, using what like hard wire, like you're describing, just disappearing in like. And I was like, that guy, I would recommend going to the Crawford Museum just to see the model airplanes they have on display. That by itself, the workmanship on them was awesome. I mean, they're literally museum quality. But
Did you see the aluminum Thunderbird there? There's an all aluminum 58 Thunderbird there.
Oh. Yeah, maybe I did. There's so many cars there, and it's a great.
No
museum.
paint.
Really, Steve?
Yeah, no paint. It's just all in aluminum.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Buff that bad boy out.
What year is that, Steve?
58.
What
58.
year body is that?
Excuse me?
58. Nice.
Yeah, it's a 58. The square bird.
That's a 58.
Yeah.
Well, there's a kit model you could make, and get yourself a 58 Thunderbird and paint it up just all in gloss aluminum.
That's all.
Natural metal finish.
And Crawford Museum had a lot of cool stuff. They don't have that many airplanes. They have one of Roscoe Turner's race planes. I think it was the Meteor, but now they got a P-51K race plane on display, and but the aluminum or aluminium. But
It always got me how English people can never pronounce it.
Well, that's because we speak American. We don't speak English. We speak American.
Huh.
There's not a country on this hemisphere that speaks the proper language, mother tongue, because every one of us, not one of us, our language and our country have the same name. In England, they speak English. In Spain, they speak Spanish. In Germany, they speak German. In America, we speak English. In South America, Spanish. In Canada, French or English. You know, it's like, oh, by the way, guess what? None of you are real countries. But, well, or real cultures. But we're American.
We speak American. That's right. It's not the King's English. We got our own language.
Now here, Walter Bosley has an interesting question. How fast does quality build time increase with those of you who have built a lot? Not much.
Well, now, you see, he had to throw in the word quality. You see, my build time, I'm like a math surgeon. I've gotten fast. That don't mean I've gotten good. Meatball model building.
I'm at the point with this Sukhoi build that I just want it done off my bench.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of them
turned
that get
into
to that point.
A common
I mean,
sentiment.
there's some builds that I've thoroughly enjoyed from start to finish, and they go quick. This isn't one of them.
Well, you know what it is? At some point on certain kits, you run into an issue, and you just put the kit aside. And then you go on to other kits, and that kit is always still there on the bench in multiple pieces, and you go, no, I'm not ready to go back to this.
Absolutely.
Well, Marty gave me that Aurora Jaguar.
But,
you know that Aurora Jaguar that Marty gave me? Because I just wanted the box
Yeah.
with the F-102 on it. Well, I realized we have the race car build coming up after the first model build, and I was like, you know what? Instead of going out and buying a race car, because I went and found an F1 car at Hurricane Hobbies for $115 and went, nope. 112 scale. But I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that Jaguar apart. It's already half apart. I'm going to take it apart, clean it up, rebuild it from scratch as a rally car, and that'll be my race car entry. That way I can honestly say I've built an Aurora Jaguar. And,
there you go.
I'm going to have to go look for some pictures of Aurora rally cars and see what I make some decals for it and everything. But
that's the E-bottle, the E-body what you got from Martin, right?
Yeah.
With the long nose.
But I don't know. I think it was Jack Linwood got the bright idea to put the car parked in front of a bunch of F-102s with fighter pilots looking at it. I was like, that son of a gun understands.
Yeah.
He understands the boy mentality. You know,
that was a good selling box art. Absolutely.
He had one.
A Jaguar?
Yeah.
I understand they're actually kind of a POS. I mean, beautiful car to look at, but not a POS, but a maintenance.
There's an actual company called JTG, Jags That Run.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically converting any Jaguar body out there to a small block Chevy motor and electronic running gear. It's called Jags That Run.
They make a new one, not Jaguar themselves, but a company in England, and they make a modernized version of the E-Type. And
really,
yeah, and they had it on Top Gear, and they said this thing is like 1,000,000 times better than the original, and it looks just as good.
It's got to be $1 million.
Because I always loved that E-Type body. What a sexy body style.
Problem is they rusted to death.
Yeah, but how much
they
of one
really
of those cars
they had
cost?
Lucas wiring.
Lord of Darkness electrical system.
Creator of darkness.
Yeah.
I do believe he was.
That's why Europeans
father.
like warm beer. They have Lucas refrigerators.
Yeah. Yeah, I never made that connection. That makes sense. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Lucas was Palpatine's grandfather.
Meanwhile, the E-Type was the car that Enzo Ferrari himself said was the most beautiful car ever put on wheels.
Wow, that's a statement.
Coming from Enzo.
It is a beautiful body style.
It's a gorgeous car. I mean, I remember when I was a little kid and they came out with them and I went to the auto show. I was mesmerized. I was like, wow, this is just gorgeous. I mean, that was the only thing you could say about it.
Enzo never said that about
the carburetors before you started it every time.
Yeah.
All the things that went with it. It was like, wow. Okay.
It was worse than starting a plane.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No,
you're right, Steve. Absolutely.
You guys see the episode of Mad Men where the British guy that got in Jaguar, he decides he wants to, he's got all these problems and he's going to terminate himself. And the Jaguar, he wants to use the car, but the Jag won't start. And Jaguar, I tell you what, Jaguar. But how much is one of those Jags that run cost? $400,000?
Yeah, they're like 300.
Yeah. Are they using old bodies, or are they making the bodies?
Oh no, they're making everything new.
Okay. Now
they're making
the E-Type body.
Yeah, it's got a lower windshield.
It straight up looks like an E-Type.
Cool.
But that's where it stops. You're basically taking the radiator cap and back into it.
Well, I mean, Steve McQueen had a Jag, if I'm not mistaken, and I think Leonard has an hour.
He had the XKSS, which they only made 13 of.
What made that such a hot ticket item?
The XKSS was made as a road car from the D-Type that they won Le Mans in, and they had parts left over, so they decided to make a road-going version, and they had a fire in the factory.
Oh.
So they only completed 13, and everything else got destroyed.
Jeez.
That car is in the Peterson Museum.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that, Steve.
Yeah, that car is in the Peterson Museum. It's a gorgeous car.
What happened to Max? I'm right here. I'm here. Maybe I got to drop another quarter in the machine. Maybe it's taking windows down or something. So what happened to Jaguar then?
Ford bought them, and then they ruined it.
Yeah.
Every time I see a company like Daimler or Chrysler, I'm always leery about, this is not going to go well.
No. None of it ever goes well.
What's the worst car merger you can think of?
What's the worst car? What?
Car company merger.
Oh, it's got to be Stellantis with Chrysler.
Because sometimes the merger works. Like when Nash and Hudson and them merged to make AMC. They did that, and they lasted another couple of decades, so that worked as well as it could. But I've seen like when Daimler Chrysler, I was kind of like, I don't know if this is going to work so well.
No, that was
AMF and Harley.
Oh yeah. God! Well, that wasn't even a car company; it was American Machine and Foundry. And I had an AMF Harley, and I was like, and so did some friends. I was like, man, the quality control really slipped. Not that Harley was exactly known as a.
It ain't leaking; it's empty.
Harley's in big trouble right now.
Yeah, they are.
They're scaring off their dealers.
You're talking they won't upgrade their engine technology from the 1930s. They're using exposed pushrod motors. They can't keep up. They want this, and I get it. People don't want that nostalgic.
But you don't have to make
thing.
only
They're
that.
not going
You
to
can make
modify
another
the
series.
Well, the problem is their average customer age is like 62.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I'm their average
That's-
customer.
So
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And
Is
apparently their
market
dealerships.
spread.
the younger kids, they went to the Oriental bikes.
Well, not only
the
that,
German bikes,
I have been
Or the
told,
Italian bikes.
or the Italian
yeah.
bikes, yeah.
Ducati, KTM, those are going strong right now because you're getting big bang for your buck.
even Triumph, the Bonnevilles are popular. The new ones are making.
They were. They're kind of falling to the wayside. The Triumph situation with the triple, they created a class for racing for those, and now that's kind of gone the way of the Dodo Bird. So they're kind of falling flat on their face too.
Well, the thing I understand is that now, I don't think this is quote unquote the problem. There are a lot of problems. But I have heard from more than one source that when people under 35 or women go to a Harley dealership, they tend to get ignored and they get ticked off and they leave. And I'm like, I can't believe that's the problem that's causing all the problems. I think it's what's happened is it's something that's been done enough times, it's sort of taken on an image of its own. So now they don't even go there. But Harley could make.
They haven't stayed relevant.
Yeah, well, Harley. I was gonna say,
Technology-wise.
Harley can still make their classic bikes, but they could also re-engineer something completely new. It doesn't have to be just one type of V-twin Harley. You could make an inline four.
I mean, you can keep building Urals, but only so many people are going to buy a Ural.
Yeah. And
So they're hanging on to this old pushrod technology. They don't want to step forward. They want that. Hey, this is our stuff. This is what we're selling, but it's not transitioning into the new age.
well, there's a guy I like to listen to called he's another YouTuber called the Feral Historian. He's a PhD history student who dropped out and started making YouTube videos. He's an interesting guy. He's up in the Dakotas, and he talks about science fiction and culture and all kinds of stuff. And anyway, he talks about one of the things, and we have all seen this in science fiction, even Star Trek to an extent. Star Wars being the biggest case. The villains are usually what everybody likes to call space Nazis. They give them that aesthetic. The Imperial soldiers, the Empire very much has, the World War II German aesthetic. A lot of their uniforms have the Russian aesthetic. And it's all very Cold War and World War II from that mythos. I mean, Spielberg look at Darth Vader's helmet, for God's sakes. It's a coal scuttle helmet. I mean, looks like,
Absolutely.
So, and to their credit, you don't have to. In 1977, the first Star Wars came out.
Yeah.
The ship gets boarded. The stormtroopers come in blast, and they drop a couple of them. They shoot their way in, and then Darth Vader comes in, 6.5, 7 feet tall, in solid black, breathing through a CPAP machine with a black cape, a skull mask, and a coal scuttle helmet. Nobody had to say, by the way, he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Painted up right there in front of you.
But what he talked about, and Steve, I don't know if you got a chance to see that video I sent you from him.
Not yet.
But,
No, I haven't. No.
I think he's talking about something else in that one. But he says what he liked about Andor, which I know a lot of Star Wars fans didn't like Andor because there's no lightsabers or spaceship fights, or there's one. But it's more of a World War II occupation story, and the resistance, the French resistance kind of thing. But he said what he was happy to see was that they had moved past that aesthetic. The ISB wear trench coats that have more of a British cut to them and everything, and you see the banality of evil with functionaries that are putting people in prison for petty crimes with no more regard than you would order lunch. But anybody who's been at the DMV can understand where this is coming from. But he says he was happy to see we're moving past the Cold War and World War II Now things seem to be more about the GWAT. Science fiction seems to have more of a global war on terror vibe to it. So we're kind of starting to leave the World War II mythos behind. And it allows for a lot more nuanced writing and stuff. But sorry, I got way off on that, man. That's tangent squared. But if you guys haven't seen The Feral Historian, I think if you're watching this channel, you might enjoy his stuff. And you might not agree with everything he says, but he does make some really interesting arguments. But one of the things I think that's happening in model building and Harley Davidson and a lot of the others is the World War II generation is almost past. There aren't that many of them left. Those of us who grew up in their shadow are now septuagenarians, centenarians, octogenarians, and even the Vietnam veterans are becoming octogenarians. If you noticed in Rogue One, that very much had a Vietnam aesthetic. Right down to the U-wing coming down like a UH-1 and dropping off troops, and and their helmets and everything. And now we're actually moving past that. And I think this, and the reason I go there, other than just general interest, is it provides a corollary to the fact that we are model builders in an era we have more options and models than we've ever had before. All these new companies have started up, which shows that they are definitely still putting the insane pills in the water. But we have all of these great, super high quality models, if you don't mind dropping a C note, as well as all the old stuff, thanks to companies like Atlantis and eBay and conventions. There's still plenty of old stuff floating around. I think we'll run out of model builders before we run out of models to build. But
oh, absolutely.
You know what it's
Just
like?
from what we have in our stashes.
It's like the Constellation, the airliner,
True, Steve.
or the latest Model C Fury. They perfected piston engine technology just in time for the jets to come on scene. Kit model technology has reached the zenith, just as we're hitting a point where, although the industry's still chugging along, but craftsmanship is becoming, I fear, a thing of the past. And I think our kids may be the last generation. That's why I probably freak people out at Hurricane Hobbies. Ian may make me stop hanging around, because anytime I see somebody under 30 looking at models, I turn into like the Progressive commercial. The old guy's got a, you really want one of these, kid, and some 12-year-old's looking at a model airplane, and his mother's like, don't make eye contact with a strange man. What have I told you about talking to strangers?
Who's really out there on the market buying new Harleys?
People like me. And not that I'm going to get one, but
understand that you want to capture that old nostalgia, but at the same time, most younger people right now are looking in a different direction.
Well, not only that, Trey, you just used the operative word, nostalgia. Someone who's 25 years old, there is no nostalgia to a Harley. They don't have our memory set. They didn't go to the theater to see Easy
absolutely
Rider.
not.
They've never been to Bike Week. And there is no nostalgia for them. They're 25, they want a motorcycle. Why do I want this gigantic thing that looks like a police bike? We're going to have this slick little sucker for a third or a quarter the price. That'll run rings around it.
That's the thing. So what do you do as a company to keep yourself alive and keep your product viable and keep bringing in new customers? Harley's been so stuck in the mud with this V-twin pushrod motor thing that they won't give up. Nobody wants that anymore.
And
with very few exceptions, I shouldn't say that, but
there's a reduced.
You look at Ducati, you look at Aprilia. Aprilia and Ducati are two of the hot upcoming motorcycle production companies coming up in the world where people want to buy their product, and there's a reason.
Now, you know more about this than I do, because I know you're a motorcycle guy. I've owned motorcycles and ridden them, but I know you're also a gearhead, so you understand all the magic that goes on inside much better. But something I know you'll appreciate is that there is no room for evolution with a V-twin, because a throw that long on a piston can only go so fast and recover so quickly. Okay.
No argument there.
So Harley needs to make a short
there
stroke.
are other valve systems
Yes.
Ducati did the Desmodronic head system on the V twins, which is stellar, and they've even developed that further. But for some reason, Harley wants to stay with these overhead pushrod valves, and you and I both know that's 1930s technology.
Yeah.
We've moved on past that. You can only rev it so hard.
Exactly.
You can only take it. Yeah, it has a neat look. It has a neat sound. But
and that's it.
It is what it is.
It's
Well,
the same thing.
sorry.
It's the same thing with cars. Why do kids not gravitate towards muscle cars? They don't. It's our generation.
That's our
it's
generation.
not theirs. They like the little Rice rockets and the
True,
German
Steve.
cars because they have the styling, the performance. That's what they want. They don't want muscle cars. The generation has passed. The only ones who have muscle cars are eyes like us because we remember them in the heyday. And
Amen,
they just don't have any, relation to it.
Well,
It's why it's like, why do a lot of kids not build model kits? Because they're into other things. They got their head stuck in the phone with games. They're into
True.
video games.
True.
They're into doing other things that's more instant gratification.
Well, Mike
That's
Rowe
why.
just did
Amen.
one of his podcasts talking about with a fellow who makes these neon signs, and he talked about how it's hard to find people with craftsmanship skills. Craftsmanship is, man, don't even
Well,
get
look,
started on the
when I went to school, you had shop class.
I took shots.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You had a
Shop
variety of shop classes. You had wood, you had metal, you had ceramics, you had
Yeah.
electrics.
I learned
You
how to
had
do plugs,
automotive.
points, and condensers. Which is kind of unless you have a vintage
Right.
car, it's kind of a dead skill now. But
You don't have that. And
No.
there was a whole time period where kids were pushed to go to college, go to college, go to college, go to college.
they still are.
And they weren't given a choice to go to a trade school that they may have had a skill set for and develop
point.
that skill.
I have to give it to
Good
the
point.
Germans for this. Going back to like the 60s or the 70s, the German school system has always around the 9th grade looked at your aptitudes and tracked you off around the 9th grade, 8th or 9th grade.
Right.
Yeah, your aptitude is mechanics. You're going to go to a trade school. There's no reason for you to be taking calculus. You're not going to need it. And then those are going to go to college. God, don't get me started on the college industrial complex.
On another tangent with the Harleys, they did team up with Buell,
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
they actually have to
The
this
03,
day. They
2000
actually
century.
have
Yeah.
a very viable race Buell. Now it's race only. It's not a street legal machine, but for around 20 grand, you can get an entry level race Buell, and for the classes that you can enter it in, it's competitive
Mm-hmm.
and it holds together. But for whatever reason, they never got past the marketing part where they could put it out and say, hey, we're going to make this a production motorcycle that everybody could buy. But it's a pretty stout machine. It holds its own.
Yeah.
And it's class.
The sad part is the electric bikes are leaving them all behind. And so are the electric cars, for that matter.
Nah, the electric bikes are, no.
I'm just talking about on acceleration and everything. But, as you know, an electric motor
As
doesn't
far as
suffer
direct
limitations.
performance,
of a
but
piston.
if you go onto a track like the Isle of Man
Mm-hmm.
or Daytona, the electric bikes are not happening.
Oh, okay.
You go on a sprint track, maybe Jennings, Roebling Road at Atlanta, they might have a fighting chance. But if you get into any of the big
But they're an emerging
courses,
technology. They have
not
nowhere to
gonna
go but
happen.
up.
What's that, Max?
They're an emerging technology. They have nowhere to go but up. They're not yet, but 10 years from now, who's to say? And maybe they won't catch up. I don't know. They may run out of cobalt before we run out of gasoline.
I hope not. I don't want to see the internal combustion engine go away from motorcycle racing at all.
It took over in RCs.
There's a place for everything.
Yeah.
But at Isle of Man, Daytona, the big super courses, I don't see the dildo fuel bikes making it.
Well, I tell you what, it's like the old joke is the best millennial anti-theft car device is a clutch. Straight shit.
It is.
There you go.
It is. We have a request
Hmm.
to get the build schedule.
Okay, I will put it in there, but end of next month, your first build. Guys, you don't have to, if you have a picture of your first kit or one of your very early kits, feel free to submit that. But the idea is to build a kit or something similar to the first kit or one of the earliest kits you remember building. That's due the end of next month, and I think the race car is after that. Let me open it up real quick. I will attach it to the description here I got it right here. Schedule and open. Okay, yeah. May 30th, first car or first build. I put Indy Car June 30th. Crap, I do have to go buy an Indy car. Then
I'll call Penske, have him send one over.
July 30th, Navy jet. Armor build on August 30th. A crossover September 30th. Seaplane build October 10th. I think that's supposed to be 30th. Let me change that. And race car build. It's any race car. November 30th. So let me copy, file, save. Let's go to YouTube. Come on, open up. Your channel. Live. File. Oops. Save. Okay, let me go to edit video. Edit video.
We got some contests coming up here locally too.
Oh yeah, what you got going on?
We got Space Coast coming up May 2nd.
What is that? Oh, Space Coast.
I thought he said Space
I
Ghost.
thought he said Space Ghost. I was like, what?
That's what I thought he said.
Space Coast.
Space Ghost,
Yeah, we got
coast to
Space
coast.
IPMS Space Coast coming up May 2nd. And then PAMSCon is going to be June 27th. If any of you guys want to get hooked up into any of that. I'm gonna try to make both of them. Don't know that
I might
I'll
make
bring
Space
anything to
Coast.
put into them. but-
PAMSCon's a bit of a drive to do in a day there and back.
Yeah, that's a bit
8
of a
hours
hike
drive
for both
for
of
me.
us actually. But Space Coast is a good one. It's a more relaxed atmosphere, I think.
I'll see if I can. When did you say Space Coast was?
May 2nd.
May 2nd. Okay. Well, guys, we actually went a couple of minutes past. Trey, I want to thank you for coming out and spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And Steve, any parting shots before we go? Anything?
No, I hope we enlightened everybody and we had a, good exchange with them. We certainly had a lot of good topics tonight, and thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
All right, well, guys.
Even Captain Ken.
Yeah, Ken phoned it in, but he's here, so
Even Captain Ken, yep, I'm right here.
Hey, thanks, Max, Steve, Q, Ken, Trey, and everyone. Model. All right, guys, you take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you later. As always, model on.
Later, guys.
He's got glue on his hands and a spark in his brain. Tiny cars, tiny jets, tiny military planes. From tanks to trains to rockets that soar, he built it up and then built some more. It's Max's motto, kids and hobby dreams. Max's motto, he'll be big in miniature scenes. Woo! He said, so anyway, the thing is that he's 3 stories deep in high school band. You ask him how his weekend went, he's explaining ancient Roman ceiling fans. One sip of coffee, suddenly we're ranking every kind of cheese. We just wanted movie times, now we're somewhere in the 90s on TV. Captain Tangent, off again, started with the weather, now we're talking about space pens. Captain Tangent, spin that thread. We were on the freeway, now we're in his cousin's shed. He goes left, he goes right. He forgets what started this ride. Captain Tangent, that's our friend. Circle to the middle, never finds the end. You say, can you pass the salt? He's like, salt, that's wild. Cause I once knew a guy named Hal. Next thing,